All right, good morning, Keller Williams, Milwaukee. What a beautiful start to our fall that we're having. We're going to go ahead and get started with our mission and vision and values like we always do. And we're going to highlight next Monday, October 14th, is Indigenous Peoples Day. So Indigenous Peoples Day celebrates the rich cultures, histories, and contributions of the Indigenous people while acknowledging the impacts of the colonization and the ongoing struggles they face. This day encourages a reflection, especially in our industry, on historical injustices faced by the Indigenous people and advocates for social justice, reconciliation, and the restoration of land and rights. It serves as a call to action for individuals and communities to support Indigenous sovereignty and promote equitable policies. Next, we're going to move on to one of my favorite things to do is I'm going to introduce a new member to our squad. So we have a new leadership team member that I'm excited to introduce to you all, Miss Madeline. I didn't put her on the spot. Instead, we did a video instead. So I want you guys to all meet Madeline, who's joining our team.
Hello, I'm Madeline.
Oh, my sound's not working. One moment. Let's see. Hang with me.
Leadership team. A little bit about me. I'm originally from Fox Point, Wisconsin, but I've just spent the last 5 years in lovely Charleston, South Carolina, doing a little bit of computer science and a lot of bit of retail therapy. My title here at Keller Williams is Marketing Coordinator, so you'll see me at the TOSA office and the North Shore office, but I'm super excited to be tasked with social media and content creation. So I'm going to be at all of the events possible, and I want to be able to tell the story of Keller Williams, and that starts with the agents. So I really want to focus on doing interviews with y'all and fun, silly challenges, and I just want to make the Instagram and the Facebook a lively place. And that starts with, you know, getting out there and getting to know y'all. So I'm going to start sending out emails to schedule interviews. If you have any ideas on trends to do or videos to shoot or places to be, I would love to know. I want to hear all of the amazing ideas out there. So if you see me around, come be on the social media. Thanks, bye.
So welcome Madeline to the team. I think we can all agree social media is not going anywhere. It's becoming an even bigger and larger part of how we all communicate and tell our story and build our businesses. So Madeline's going to be working really closely with Lindsay and Willis. Don't worry, they're not going anywhere. So she's going to be there to really help tell our story on a local level to give you guys more content on what's happening in our 5-county metro area and the 5 offices we have of Keller Williams for you guys to have reshareable content that's a lot more locally focused and is telling your stories. So reach out to Madeline if there's something that you need help with on social media. Like she said, you're going to start seeing her around at Bold, at Lake Country's trick or treat event, and all these different fun events so that we can tell our story more on social media and be really consistent. So welcome to the team, Madeline. We're so happy to have you. I didn't even know there was a Bachelor of Science in Computer Information Systems major. So I'm happy to have you on the team and be pouring into all of us. Next up, we're going to do a little reminder. So letter of acknowledgement was sent. Here's the naughty list. If you see any friends on here or members of your team, they're going to lose access to a lot of really important things they need to do business soon. So please take a look at your email and your deleted folder. If you don't have it, reach out to Jen or Emily. We need you guys to sign this, just acknowledging that you understand the new legal changes that have happened with the NAR in August and continue to be able to serve your clients. So I see some
Mandy.
friends on
Hey,
there.
Mandy, we're not
Yes?
seeing anything.
You're not seeing anything? Okay. Let me hear this naughty list here. Tisk, tisk. Steph, you got me now?
We got you now. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. Then it's that time of year again already where we're gonna be seeing that Energage email in your inbox. It's top workplaces, something that our leadership team is extremely proud of, that we are a multi-year top workplace winner. We will be seeing the new survey already launching again on Tuesday. So keep an eye out for that, fill it out, and we encourage you to complete it. You'll see it on Tuesday, October 14th. And next we've got Lindsay with Tech and Marketing.
Okay, good morning, everybody. So happy quarter four. This is usually the time of year where I like to talk about cleaning up your database, and now is a great time because your business might be slowing down. But I think this year's a little different. And I think for a lot of you, the market isn't slowing down, which means your business isn't slowing down. And we've seen some of the statistics kind of nationally and locally. And I came across an article last week that actually my MAPS coach shared with me. And it was on Housing Wire. And it had this chart that you see on the screen here. And it says, there have been 6.4% more single family homes under contract this year versus last year. And you can see that dark red line indicating this year, 2024, is on an upward trend compared to the last 2 years. And then more locally, according to the WRA, home sales through August 2024 were 5.3% stronger than the first 8 months of 2023. And so, we talk a lot about, fall cleanup and really getting into more housekeeping items. And that's just not the case this year. But that also doesn't mean that it's still not a great time to clean up your database and reach out to your database, because chances are if you are not reaching out to them, somebody else is, and they're getting that business. And so it's always, always, always a great time to clean up your database and follow up with the people in your sphere. Because ultimately, as we always say, your database is your business. And good news is that you have the tools in order to clean up your database, whether it's in Command or any CRM platform that you're using. You can merge duplicate contacts. You can customize those columns and create different smart views as you're filtering your contacts. What's going to work best for you? How are you reaching out to your database? Create those smart views so that you have them saved and you could just go back to them time and time again. It's a great time to update contact information. It's also an opportunity for you to reach out to your database as you're doing this, whether it's calling, texting, emailing. Get those email addresses, update those mailing addresses, message people on social media. There's so many different ways that you can reach out to them. Applying tags to segment your database based off of how are you marketing to these people. Once you have that database cleaned up, then it's all about creating systems. And the DTD2 system is excellent for that. It stands for doing the database too, and it's essentially a systematic way to stay in touch with your database 4 times a year. Now, as you're cleaning up your database, I want you guys to keep this in mind. And this is a direct quote from the MREA. The size of your real estate sales business will be in direct proportion to the size and quality of your database. So keep that in mind as you are cleaning up your database and you're following up with your database, because then the next step is focusing on the follow-up. And that's utilizing smart plans. It's utilizing a system like the DTD2 system. Choose a follow-up plan that's going to work for you. If you prefer to call or text or send emails, or if you really want to focus in on client events, do that. Do something that you love and that you're passionate about. Next up is write it down. This is essentially your 36-touch marketing plan. And then we want to implement that and stick with it. And Command has the tools in order to help you do that and to stay accountable with that. So if you guys are interested in learning more about those tools that I just rattled off and the ways that you can follow up with your database, join me on Thursday. It's at 11. It's on Zoom, back in a tech and marketing training on very specific topics. both within command, more general marketing ideas. So this week we're talking all about fall database cleanup. And then I'm going to talk about how to implement the DT-D2 system as well. And then we've got some other fun topics later in the month, followed or ending with compliance and command and zip form training. So that's what our month of tech and marketing training looks like for October. Thank you.
All right, Steph, flipping it over to you for some compliance updates.
Hi, good morning, everyone. I also have just more of housekeeping items to go over this morning as well. But first up, I also want to highlight Joan and I's contract training every Monday at 12 p.m. Want to thank everybody who came to yesterday's training on the condo offer to purchase. We had a great turnout yesterday. We love seeing everybody on Zoom. The more questions, the better. Next week, we've got the addendum A, the addendum O, and the addendum R. And I just also want to remind you guys, this is not just for newly licensed agents. If you need a brush up on the addendum O, there's a huge expansion to the addendum O this year, for example. The addendum R, it's not used often. So please, even if you're seasoned, check these trainings out. We're going to do the addendum AC in a couple of weeks, and then ending with the inspections and testing and the real estate condition report. And again, we're kind of the last holdouts on Zoom, so you can tune in to us from anywhere. You'll find that at kwrealtymke.com. The Zoom link is from the training calendar. It's linked from the training calendar right on the front page. All right, I'm gonna remind everyone about this right at the get-go as well. License renewal action items at this point. So there's 3 steps for license renewal in this biennium year. We've got to take our continuing education courses. We have to pay our GMAR dues or our other association dues. And then we also have to renew our license with the DSPS. There's only 2 things that you guys are going to need to focus on right now, and that's taking the continuing education courses. We do not need to keep copies of the certificates. I don't need to see them. Just hold that until you are going to renew with the DSPS later on, and we will remind you about that, of course, at the end of the month. And then also paying the GMAR dues as soon as possible. So, and I'll show you where. Next slide, Mandy. The continuing education, I highly encourage you guys just to do this through the WRA. You want to go to the next slide, Mandy. You're going to find that under the education tab. You're going to scroll down to continuing ed, and then you're going to go right to the real estate CE link, and that will bring you to all the different options. And then the GMAR dues. So one email is sent out. It was sent out on a Friday, September 13th. So if you just want to do a quick Gmail search for the 2025 GMAR dues renewal invoice, it should pop up right for you, and you'll have a specific link that will bring you to pay your dues. I'll be tracking this through the GMAR. You do not need to send evidence of this to me either. I'll definitely be re-reminding everybody at the end of the month on what I need. Okay, next up, now we have some reminders from Kimmy. This is a kind of a command quirk that nobody likes, but when we're doing our opportunities, when we're submitting our transactions for review, we need to make sure that we are inputting the estimated close date. You'll find that under the details section of the opportunity. If this date is missing, it falls to the bottom of Kimmy's queue. She's reviewing hundreds of files. And if that is lost and not brought up to the top of her queue based off of the estimated close date, then there's a huge chance that it would get missed before closing. So again, please make sure you're inputting that estimated close date in the details section of the opportunity. And then another reminder from Kimmy and from the MCA office, double check that your opportunity is in approved status prior to closing. So you're just gonna have to add this to your contract to close process. Add that to your checklist, make sure that you're just double checking this opportunity to make sure it's in approved status. So you can see if it's in a returned status, you're not getting paid. Until it's in approved status, that is when the MCA office, Emily and Jen, can pay us out, okay? Very important. All right, then compensation. So again, I'm going to focus specifically on a compensation. So the listing firm has confirmed and communicated that the seller will be offering compensation, right? There are more than one ways to address this. Either it's through the compensation agreement or through the offer to purchase. Again, coming from the buyer's agent perspective, I just want you guys to make sure you're asking that question right away before you're writing an offer. Mr. Listing Agent, Mrs. Listing Agent, how do you want me to reflect the compensation? Are we going to execute a compensation agreement, or would you prefer that I put it into the offer to purchase? Just make sure as a buyer's agent, you're asking that question. Okay. All right, and then last up, this is actually, Joan and I have had a few of these just more prevalent in the past couple months. I'm not sure what's going on, but so earnest money disputes, we just kind of want to remind you guys from the seller's perspective, if you have a seller who receives a cancellation agreement and it outlines that the earnest money is going to go back to the buyer, the seller certainly has the option to review this, to question this, to want to speak to an attorney to find out, contractually, should this be awarded or should this go back to the buyer, right? We just want you guys to hear that that's definitely something that a seller would need to confirm with an attorney. And also, we want to make sure that sellers have an understanding that they can also speak to an attorney about whether or not they can move forward with another buyer if that earnest money is in any sort of dispute, right? So again, just point your sellers to an attorney when these kind of questions come up. Obviously, you're going to come to Joan and I as well, and we'll remind you of this, but we also want to give you guys peace of mind that earnest money is not automatically awarded to one party or another just because a cancellation agreement is not signed. It has to go through, certain processes, right? Spelled out in the listing contract, spelled out in the offer to purchase. It could be settled in small claims court, etc. But I think there's a misconception out there that earnest money is awarded to one party or the other automatically, and that's just not the case. It's held in the trust account until it's figured out. So just point our sellers to an attorney if there's any questions at all about where earnest money should go. That is all I have, Miss Mandy.
Thank you, Steph. Appreciate it. All right, it's been a few weeks since we've looked at the current market of the moment. So I pulled some new data to kind of go through what we're seeing since interest rates have dropped and we've been talking about the market being funky. So let's look at the data and see what the data is telling us over these last few weeks. Starting with new inventory units, there's been a very healthy level of new inventory coming to the market. The average number of new units a week over the last 12 weeks has been 601 units. This is versus July through September. New inventory is up 3% versus April through June. So we had 605 new units hitting the market last week. How that relates in terms of sales absorption, as we know, sales absorption is the percent of inventory going under contract on a given week. So last week we stayed the same at 9.2%. So demand has been really steadily softening on a consistent basis, which again is funky because interest rates have really improved. So continuing to show us a funky market. Number of units under contract units for the last 12 weeks is 11% lower than we did see in the spring. Again, despite the interest rates being 15 to 20% lower at 427 units under contract versus the previous week at 424. This chart's going to show us our new versus under contract units. So our new units are red and our under contract are blue. So again, softening of demand is providing that slight alleviation when it comes to having inventory and alleviating that inventory pressure, which is really great for our buyers that we have here still looking to buy going into the winter. Total inventory seeing that same trend. It's rising. So risen consistently week by week for the last 24 weeks in a row. We've seen an increase in inventory. So really great for our buyers. To boil all this down, despite the constant rate improvement, buyers continue to proceed with the market with caution, which is a typical response during, again, the selection cycle. We've been talking a ton about the data, and I think that data is really, really great, but I think that all of the lessons in this funky market are really in the stories. So I have a few excellent agents and your peers on this morning to kind of talk about what does that mean? Like, what's the funky market mean to them? It's interesting when we talk about the market being funky because every single one of you is working differently than one another. You all bring something unique and special to your client experience. All your clients, I'm sure, are bringing something unique and special to every transaction. And I was like, there's a very clear reason why there's more reality shows about the real estate business than any other profession. It's because you can't write this. So I'm really excited to talk to these three beautiful people today, and kind of hear what they're seeing in the funky market. And my goal for you in listening to these people is that you find one or two things that you can implement that they've implemented because they were selected because their business is up huge right now, over 100% versus their business last year. So to say they are qualified is an understatement. Amanda is actually at a training, so I jumped on and recorded my segment with her yesterday. So I'm going to go ahead and lead with Amanda, and then we'll talk to some other people.
Amanda, thank you so much for joining me. I absolutely love getting your perspective after team meetings and hearing what you think about this market. I know Charlie's been saying this market's funky. It's funky monkey. And we haven't really talked a lot about what that means, like what's making it funky and how it's funky for different agents for different reasons. And you've been really great at pointing out that the way one person does something versus the way another person does something, whether it's price point or volume, it's all different. So I appreciate you bringing these questions that I'm going to ask the panel here to the table. And I'm going to spin it on you first and ask you these questions because I think that there's a lot that everyone can get from hearing some of these things that you've already shared with me. Are you ready?
Good.
Should I dive in?
Go for it.
All right, Amanda, what are you seeing in this market right now compared to what we saw in this summer market?
You know, for us, summer was a very back to the typical seasonality of things. So it was a little bit softer, still competitive, but nothing compared to spring. And so we were bracing ourselves to see if fall picked up again, as it often does traditionally, or if we saw this sort of wonky market in response to election year. And it seems to be fairly wonky still. We're seeing it as an opportunity for our buyers in certain areas, especially. It really comes down to if a home is not absolutely strategically priced, it's sitting. And if a home does not have those small, easy to fix barriers for buyers, those points of resistance removed, it's sitting and people circle. And so we're trying to, make the most of it and see it as a positive, and also let our sellers know it's not a bad time to sell. It just means we need to be really strategic about how we're approaching it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And that actually kind of leads into the next, question, in that are you doing anything differently when it comes to what you tell your buyers and sellers about the market and how you're preparing them and navigating your buyers and sellers, with them?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, for our buyers, it's like, hey, this is a positive. It's not a bad thing. There doesn't mean there's something wrong with the house necessarily or the condo. It's just the pricing might not be right, and that is our opportunity to swoop in. And so we're preparing them to look for opportunities and help them understand that we are still likely to be in competition, but we can be a little more to their advantage, perhaps, or at least have a little time to be thoughtful, just remembering that we're probably going to have competition regardless, but it won't be as much or potentially as intense. But if a house is priced right and it shows well, it's still going to be a total bonanza. We got to be ready for that. So we just kind of help them understand as we look home by home what type of situation we might be in with that one. For sellers, like I said, it's that, any point of resistance we're trying to remove. Small things, scratched trim, a faucet that leaks in the kitchen, just little things that people see as like too much work needed. We try to remove as much of those small issues as we can, and pricing strategically to be under market value to the percentage that's typical in the neighborhood and maybe a little more, to really make sure we stand out and there is no hesitation. We have to remove hesitation for the buyers. We need them to go in full force, full speed, because if it starts to sit, that's when people have questions, and then they start to drop their price and add in contingencies. And so we prepare them to know there's buyers out there, but we have to shine from the get-go.
Definitely. And I love a good mindset question. I know you do too, and you're great with resetting mindset. We're already into the second week of October here, and we tell ourselves that this is when things slow down. Whether they're slowing down or not, that's in our RAS. So what do you do to keep yourself from panicking when the market is slow or it's getting wonky? And what do you tell yourself? What rituals do you have? How do you keep your focus at this time of year?
Yeah, I will first say, and my husband can attest to this, when things calm down, I always first panic. I don't know if that'll ever go away. So if you're in that position, it's okay. Don't be ashamed, but you got to get yourself out of it as soon as possible. So for me, it's remembering what our core is, what are our values, who's our ideal client, what gets us the most business, and just double down on that. We also have to embrace the slow moments. We don't get a lot of those in this business, and we certainly haven't since 2020. And so this is the time for us to reflect, revisit our values, our mission, our goals, our vision for 5 years from now, so we can start setting up things for the next year. So it's a time where we can take a breath and just step back and get perspective. And that's absolutely necessary for having a successful business and doing this job at the highest level.
Yeah, I love that. I don't think that's something that we talk about much or give ourselves permission to do. I always love when I see you and you're like, double down, and it's just so honest and real. And I appreciate the perspective of take a moment to breathe and prepare to jump back on the tread. So when things are a little slow, what is your go-to lead generation activity, whether it's for either finding more buyers or sellers?
So there's two things that I have found make me feel more in control when things feel out of control when it comes to business. The first thing is I always go back to open houses. It's such an easy way to get in front of people. And even if I can't get a buyer out of it or my team can't, it's a chance for us to be in front of people in the current market, getting their opinions and their perspective. And maybe we're filling our pipeline for later, but at least we're doing something. So open houses, oftentimes we at least get one person out of that. Also, we go back to our past clients in Sphere and very directly ask them for business. It's not something we do often. It's not something we like to do, but we try to do it in a creative way. We recently sent out a survey to our past clients, asking them how we can be of service to them in terms of contractors or advice on home updates and repairs, or if they're thinking about selling or buying, or if they know anybody, and just captured it all in one place. And we got quite a good response so far. So that's something we haven't done before, but is working. In the past, we've just connected with people directly and even just reminded them on social media, hey, we're taking new clients. Sometimes people assume we're too busy. So you just have to remind them.
I absolutely love that. We get zero of the things we don't ask for. So it never hurts to ask. That's fantastic. Knowing you've got your planner, you've got your goals, you've got everything lined up through the end of the year. What do you do this time of year to finish the year strong and make sure that you're prepared already for next year?
Yeah, I love preparing for next year. And sometimes I get so into that I forget, we have 3 months to do business and we got to wrap it up. So I just go back to what are our regular activities we're doing, connecting with our past clients, our Sphere, asking for referrals regularly every week. We're trying to connect with people. And if we can't get a consult, we're getting a coffee, a dinner, a walk and talk, something to get in front of people. That's when we make our strongest connections. So that's a great way to just sort of move the needle forward. And then anybody we've got that's a little sleepy as a buyer or seller, have kind of been on the sidelines, or maybe we've sort of set them aside and perhaps forgotten about them. It's time for us to go back to that pipeline and get everybody back in the shuffle of are they happening now? Are they happening this year? Is it next year? And helping them understand the benefits of being out there now and how much it can be to their advantage to be in the market between now and the end of December. And that does help. It does work. It kind of gets things flowing.
Shake
again.
the trees.
We just need that momentum. Yes, exactly. Momentum is the game.
Awesome. Well, I love it. And Amanda, I think that, the saying, only the paranoid survive, definitely rings true with your team. Your team, every single member on your team his business is way up, and huge congrats to every single person on your team under your leadership, and excited to see where you guys finish out this year and your goals for next year. So thank
you. All right. Thank you, Amanda. I'm going to flip over and go to you, Ethan. Ethan, are you on?
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me okay?
There he is, Ethan Masson. Ethan's
Hello.
business. I called Ethan yesterday. I said, Ethan, do you have any idea how much your business is up from last year? He said, no. I said, oh, well, it's over 100%. Ethan's business is up over 101.3% from last year. So Ethan, what the hell are you doing to make your business up 100%? What are you seeing in the market right now compared to summer?
Well, first off, I would totally be remiss if I don't give huge shout outs to everybody who's been helping me with my business. Got to give a shout out to the wife, helping with all the kids, of course. And then my awesome assistant, Stephanie, She has taken on more hours recently, and just with all the business, it's been really, really helpful to help the growth and handle all the different leads coming in and all the buyers and sellers. And then I have awesome showing partners too, Lena and Jackie. Big shout out to them. So I wanted to start with that. And then what was the second part of your question? I got wrapped up in thanking everybody.
Yeah, no, I love it. We don't talk enough about leverage. What I hear you saying is leverage, leverage, leverage. What are you seeing in the market right now compared to summer market? How has it changed for you in the fall here?
So as you've seen on the charts, it's been a slow kind of ramp up with inventory going up and competition coming down a little bit, been pretty funky. What I've been telling my buyers and the conversations I've been having is we used to have some rules of thumb, especially when the market was really hot. Hey, this is probably gonna get 5 to 10 offers. The winning offer is probably gonna waive inspection, waive appraisal, gonna be 10% over list price. And we could be pretty confident in those metrics, but now those are all kind of out the window. We're seeing great listings that maybe your gut tells you, oh, this should go quick, but we got to get some of those past rules out the window and let our buyers and sellers know that that's not necessarily the case. And we're seeing it very property by property. So that's kind of the gist of it. But the big thing that I'm taking away from this is it's an opportunity to give your value to especially your buyers, because you don't really know what's going on with the house. So it's more important than ever to build that rapport with the co-broke, with the listing agent, try to figure out what exactly the situation is, what type of competition you're going to be up against. And that will let you, have a very good conversation with your buyer and set expectations for, like, we don't really know, but this is what I was able to find out.
Great, thank you. What are you doing for your lead gen right now? How are you up so much? What's your biggest source of lead generation?
So it's a big mix. I'm about 3.5 years into the business. I'm seeing a lot more referrals and some of that older business come back around and maybe buy and sell. So that's been really great to see. I'm also not afraid of online leads. That's a decent part of my business. I'm seeing that percentage shrink and shrink and shrink, but a combination of both and focus on the leads that you do get, whether it's sphere of influence or maybe it is an internet lead. Really try to stay in touch with them and not let them slip through the cracks, because you want to get as much juice out of your fruit as possible, like you're making orange juice. So try not to let anything fall through and be efficient with the leads that you do have. If you're not swimming in leads, make sure you're not fumbling it and waiting 2 months to call them back or something like that.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that you do really well is, if people are doing online leads or sourcing leads, your conversion is incredible. How are you getting such a high conversion on that investment?
So I've been thinking about this since you called me yesterday to ask me about this. And a lot of it is just being prepared on the conversations that you'll have. So for example, if you're going to talk to a Zillow lead, you know that they're calling you out of the blue and they're getting connected to this person. I make it very clear what my intention is. I want to work with you, partner with you, if it's a good fit, to see this process through and be the person to represent you. And I say, I'm not asking you to commit to anything, but I just want to make it known that that is my goal when we're talking. Same thing with buyers. If you get a referral and you're going to have a buyer consultation, you know that you're going to be talking about these new changes that we've been seeing in the industry with buyer agency or getting something signed before showings. So you should know exactly what you're going to say and how you're going to present that, because you know that conversation is going to come up. So if you're kind of a little fuzzy on that, definitely tighten that up. And that goes for any other situations that you're going to get into, whether it's writing offers or this or that. And people call it script practice, whatever. I like to just have my talking points and know the way the conversation will flow and know the points I want to hit. And then it sounds so much more polished. You don't have to sound like you're scrambling and maybe not knowledgeable. So that goes a really long way. So I think that helps with the conversion, knowing those conversations.
Excellent. Thanks, Ethan. And lastly, what do you do this time of year to finish the year strong and be prepared for next year? What's your pipeline look like?
So what I was like, this January of this year was really strong for me, January and February. I had a lot of stuff in the pipeline going into 2024, which definitely helps the overall production. So when you're looking for what things might entail going into next year, I'm looking back at that and saying, okay, I had this many deals. How many of those that closed in January and February were I talking to, and maybe December and November? That gives you can kind of do the math, and then you look at where you're at now and say, am I close to that? Do I have a similar ratio? what is my beginning of 2025 going to look like? And then you can assess, am I a little bit short of where I'd want to be to hit my goals, or am I kind of okay? And that's okay, whatever it is, but just know you should be prepared and know where you're sitting. That will give you the knowledge to, okay, I want to go out and try to fill that pipeline and make a really good effort to that as well. And one other thing I'll say, Steph, she'll tell you, we have a lot of ideas. We're pretty busy, but stuff will come up. We'll hear things in panels or talking to different agents, or we'll just come up with an idea. And I'll say, add that to our idea board. And our idea board keeps filling up and filling up. We need to start implementing some of that stuff. So if winter is a little bit slow, like we've all been talking about, it's a perfect time to set the goals. And if you have some ideas that you've always wanted to implement, maybe you actually have the time now to go to that and try to get them implemented into your business. That way you're improving and building off of each year, not just keeping the same year by year.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ethan. Appreciate you jumping on, and congrats to your great year.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to switch over to Becky Thomas. Becky, are you on?
Yes, I'm not Elena.
Hi, Becky. Thanks for saving the day here this morning and jumping on to pour into our group. Let's start with the question of, what are you seeing in the market right now compared to summer? How has it changed for you?
Well, right now, personally, it's still busy. So there is that time in the market where you've been going since February and you were kind of thinking, oh, it's going to be a little breather right now, but it's not. And that's good. I'm not complaining. But to Ethan's point, I'm excited to sort of have some time back to really work on the business instead of in the business. So that's, again, a lot of stuff still closing. There's a lot of listing appointments that I've still been on, but the main question that they're asking is, should we just wait till spring to sell? We don't need to sell right now. Should we wait to sell? And then a lot of times my next question is, well, of course, totally fine. Like, spring is the spring market, fall is the winter market, just in general. And because they're about to think about selling, they've been watching the market, they've been listening to the news, they've been, they have all these questions. And it's, to me, it's based on their needs. Could their house sell better in the spring? Maybe, but I don't know. Like, I can't. We just saw the rates go up again this week, and so we don't know if they're going to come up. We can't predict that. I think everything has that knowledge. So, working with, so that when you go into these listing appointments, you're prepared for those.
Yeah, definitely. So that kind of answered my second question about how that conversation has changed with your buyers and sellers. What about your mindset? What do you do to keep yourself from panicking when the market gets a little slow? I know it hasn't for you, but how are you protecting your mindset?
I mean, just personal mindset. Again, like, I guess it depends where you're at or where your year has been as to where you want to finish out the year. Like, for me now, I would like to just have a little bit of a break to be able to work in the business on the business instead of in the business. But I think my mindset also helps my buyers and sellers understand like where they're at too, because sorry, I have what I want to say is communication right now with your buyers and sellers is huge. I know for me personally, some of my listings are sitting longer. And if you just kind of wait for, let's say if you have a listing and you're just waiting for these agents to bring their buyers, like, you need to be proactive. And what I'm getting right now in the fall / going into winter is a lot of people whose homes have been sitting on the market for a while. And they're calling me and they're like, hey, we're about to expire on October 15th. Like, can you come over and take over and tell us why this hasn't sold and things like that. And I think we have to be really careful about just picking up that expired listing and running with it and talking to the sellers about like, okay, what was positive, what was negative, what did you feel like you should have gotten and you didn't, and then helping them wrap their mind around how it's going to be different with you because it might not be like, maybe their house is perfectly staged. Maybe it's just a matter of pricing, but maybe it's not. Like, I do think we're in just a very weird, different market where not only is it fall, it's also an election year. Rates pop back up again. Like there's a lot of stuff that we need to make sure that we're able to speak to when we're going into some of these expired listings right now, things that didn't sell this summer.
Yeah, I think you hit on a lot of things, and just listening to some of the conversations happening in the training room this morning before team meeting started. I mean, you're not the only one seeing those things. And I think not being afraid to have those honest conversations with your buyers and sellers, because they've seen what the market, they're not in it every day like we are. They're seeing things as, oh, 6 offers, day one, over asking. It's being honest and the expert in the transaction, and being able to be that resource for them. So thank you so much for sharing that. I know that you're not alone in what you're seeing. Absolutely. So thank you for jumping on this morning. All right. I hope everybody got something out of that panel. I know I did. We're going to just wrap up here with some training and education. This week is a big week. And before I jump into why it's such a big week, Ethan hit on a lot of things when it comes to script practicing. If you're new, or you don't even know what he's talking about, or you just want to hear how other people are doing it, we're doing live script practicing almost every day at 11 o'clock on Zoom. So feel free to jump into any of those conversations. There's always tons to plug into in terms of productivity coaching, is always talking about script practice and dialogue, and jump on with Kim too every week to do offer practice writing. So lots of things that are always on every single week. And then it's here, guys. It's tomorrow. Tomorrow is bold. If you still haven't registered, it's not too late. If you just want to come to the first step, come. We have over 150 agents who are registered, who make up over 400 million just year to date in volume, and have made over 9 million in GCI. So a highly productive group. One thing I want to mention, our coach Amber, she lives in Naples, Florida. So Naples, as we all know, is completely evacuated, and Amber is here. She's coming to pour into all of you. She has 4 kids that are out of their home right now, and she said, hell yeah, I'll be there. I'll be in Milwaukee. So welcome her with open arms, give her that Midwest love that I know you're all capable of doing. And I'm super proud of everybody who's signed up for Bold. And if you are still thinking about it, just show up tomorrow. Don't worry about registering or anything. Just show up, come find me, and we'll talk about how to get you in that room to pour into your business. In similar breath to Amber and Naples, I want to bring more attention to the opportunity with KW Cares and donating money to help those in need, not only in the East Coast, but now South Florida and all over. We've decided to make this event even larger, and we're going to be offering it in every Market Center location. So we have bought tickets for an incredible training opportunity called Multiply Your Business. We now have more information on what's going to be included in this training opportunity that's going to be taking place in all of the market centers. All we're asking for you guys to come is a donation that we're going to send right off to KW Cares, and lunch will be provided. Huge names in here. They're going to be going through 3 segments: leads, listings, and leverage, just like the MREA. And I'm shocked with who they've got on. So big names. We got James Shaw, who we saw here this summer. Our own Tommy Choi is going to be coming in and talking about listings. And then our leverage group of people, including Sarah Reynolds. So big experienced people talking about the day, and just an opportunity to give back and get some value out of it. And then we have Business Planning Clinic. If you're in Bold, it's free for you to register. If you're not, I highly encourage you to come. If you want to help grow your downline and invite a co-broke or someone, let me or any team leader know. We'll get them a free ticket to come. It's going to be a great day to just plan for your 2025. And then we have our holiday party, Thursday, December, I can never read that, 5th, 2024. That snowflake throws me off. Black and white is the suggested theme for the day, and look forward to seeing you all there. I want to leave you with one final thing. I got a beautiful quote from a mentor of mine this morning that really hit with me, and I wanted to share it to the greater group. We're talking a lot about wrapping up the year and looking into next year, and she sent this quote, and I think we should all take a picture of it and read it every morning for the next 3 months. In the next 3 months that are left in 2024, don't hold back. Spend more time with friends who get you. Put your energy into your best habits. Treat your body like a temple. Don't stay quiet about the love you feel in your heart. Spread kindness and act on your goals. Happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope to see you all at Bold and make it a great day. Thank you.